This is Mommying While Muslim, recorded live and unedited. Watch as Zeba and Uzma record their podcast, see their reactions, and find out for yourself what all the buzz is about.
This episode of Momming While Muslim is sponsored by Guidance Residential. Join Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, president of Zaytuna College and Guidance Residential, for a live webinar on how Islamic home financing is providing a permissible path for Muslim Americans to finance their homes. Register for very limited online seats at gr.link/MWM_NCW_Hamza HAMZA_YUSUF. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Momming While Muslim podcast. This is Uzma Jaffrey.
And this is Zeba Hassan. How are you guys this week? We've had quite an eventful week. So how was your week?
I am dealing with a tween and a teen now, Zeba.
Oh,
Send
have fun.
reinforcements. Because
I will send you a care package. I won't even send reinforcement. I'll send you a care package. It'll include chocolate. It'll include a tissue box with soft, so it doesn't pop
the lotion in it. Yeah,
the lotion in it. And I will send you the Supper app so you can go listen to it. And the
app. Oh yeah, I should probably listen to that. Yeah, no, it's on my phone, but you know, what do you do when you're like trying to not throw your phone at your kid? But they're hitting an impasse, right, with the unschooling, like. Now I have to ask them, like, hey, did you do any work today? And one of them literally will just go and sit and watch videos about gaming. So it's not even gaming.
Videos about other people
playing their games. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't even understand. That's like the worst kind of bench warming ever. And I'm getting really frustrated, but I can't do that today because it's his birthday. So
happy birthday.
Yes, and in the age of COVID, when you can't invite your friends over because they're all going to school and they're all exposed to other kids, we rented out a theater.
Okay, girl,
It's the way to do it. You know, it's like
do what you have to do.
We'll invite like our cousins who we know also homeschool and just kind of sit in our little COVID bubble inside of a theater. But I am taking my can of Lysol to spread it all down, and that's what his birthday party will be.
Spray it.
Everybody
down.
Inhale some Lysol. It'll be good for you. How's your week been? Also eventful.
It's been extremely stressful.
I'm sorry.
I'm not going to share the details because like I never, other people are involved in this particular lifestyle of craziness. But what I can share with people is that I am always in a constant state of trauma and chaos on some level. And maybe other people can relate to that. Some as a product of my own craziness, some as an extension of other people's craziness. But the reality of the situation is I feel very good about where I am today on an emotional, from an emotional perspective, because I have learned to let certain things go that are outside of my control. Mm-hmm. And if anybody has known me, like Uzma or some of my older friends, they recognize that the control thing was a direct relation to some of the trauma and these types of things that I had faced when I was younger. And now my ability to let go and to go with the flow, quote unquote, and really be at a space where I'm like, you know what? This is what it is. We will deal with it as it comes and move on from there. I am extremely proud of myself. And as far as how far I have come in my evolutionary process of self-acceptance and emotional growth. So I'll just leave it at that. But I've had a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of hyper stress. But at the end of the day, I'm here right now. I'm talking to you, doing the work that really invigorates us. And, you know, how can I not feel blessed for that? I mean,
I'm really proud.
So that was my mini soapbox. I pulled an Uzma.
It was a soapbox, actually. It really, really, truly was.
It was.
Yeah. I'm proud of you too. And may Allah make it all easy for you and, you know, restore your sleep because I know how precious that is to you.
Oh,
and
I love sleep.
Yeah. May all of our families be healthy, happy, and safe always. That's the best we can do.
That's the best we can do. So do you want to tell us what our the actual soapbox is? Because
yeah, the actual soapbox.
I need to like take a break, take it all in, because I always have to get prepared when Uzma gives our soapbox.
It's going to be super short because I'm still doing some research on this to get exact numbers. I don't think I ever will, but our soapbox for today is about the pullout from Afghanistan. And so everybody's freaking out. Everybody who's American is freaking out about, oh, we're leaving all these people to die in Afghanistan. We're pulling out, we're pulling out, we're pulling out. Well, we may not really be pulling out, because as it turns out, we still have special ops forces in Afghanistan. We still have mercenaries in Afghanistan. We have long bombs and drones. So long bombs are basically bombs in other countries near Afghanistan aimed at Afghanistan. And drones, of course, that have for the last 20 years killed plenty of Afghanis, also Pakistanis next door. But plenty of drones to continue to destabilize the area. So are we really pulling out? Is this war in Afghanistan really over? I don't know. You tell me. I'm going to give the few numbers that I do have from Politics Today, which will be in our show notes link, is that, we've had military contractors in Iraq and Afghanistan for decades now. And they kind of had to be pulled in to do all of those things that our army can't do legally, right? Like our military forces are restricted by international code of conduct and international law, but special op forces are basically, and mercenaries are basically private companies. Blackwater might come to mind, and we got in a lot of trouble for using them in the past, so they're no longer allowed in. Well, first Hamid Karzai had said, you're not allowed to bring Blackwater in here, because they were going in and actually murdering civilians and doing all kinds of unchecked things. You can't regulate them because they're private entities, right? So Karzai said, no, you can't have them in, but then they ended up getting in and Karzai had to be shut up. I wonder who was doing the shutting up, but those troops are still in there. Those mercenaries, we think, they're telling us about 10,000 of them are there, and they decided to change their name from private contractor and called them advisors to NATO and our other international forces that were in, basically just rebranded them. They're still mercenaries. They're just under another name called risk management companies. That's what they call them. But there's 10,000 of them there. About 10 to 20% of them are militant, which means that they can actually engage in combat. And the rest were more advisors and stuff. So these numbers that we're getting about Americans being left back in Afghanistan, 100 to 600, we knew that those numbers were higher. I initially doubted when they said, oh, a lot of these people have chosen to stay in Afghanistan. Well, these mercenaries are among them, because they are part of the special forces that are going to remain in Afghanistan. And it's not going to end up well, guys. There's not going to be peace in Afghanistan as long as we pay American dollars to private companies to go terrorize other people. That never ends well. The last time we did that, guess what? We lost 2 towers. 9/11 is tomorrow. Don't do that. This is dumb. Until we pull out completely and let somebody else govern themselves, which is what they've been wanting to do, as people who believe in self-government democracy. I mean, come on. Whatever they decide to do and whatever kind of government they set up, let them try it, And if it is Taliban, well, it's going to eventually implode. The condition of a people never changes until the people actually step up and change it themselves. But we have to give them that opportunity, and we can't set them up for failure with mercenaries and special ops and, plans to continue to drone them and plans to continue making orphans and widows. America, wake up. It's time to take back our tax dollars, invest them in our own country, and not in these mercenary companies, these private people that are not governed by international law. It's not going to end up well, not for the Afghanis, not for us. That's our soapbox for today.
I'm not going to touch that with the 10-foot pole, so I'm going to leave it there. Because
hopefully I'll have more numbers in the coming weeks, but we'll see.
We have more numbers in the coming weeks. And, Uzma and I don't necessarily agree on every single issue. Nope. And I'm still in the process of trying to figure all this out. But In general, I agree with you. I think people should have the opportunity to try to at least attempt to cover themselves. I'm not too thrilled about the Taliban being that
Nobody
government.
Is. Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little bit like, I don't know if I agree with you on that part, but inshallah, like whatever happens, and hope and pray the best for our Afghan families and our Afghan members. But we are continuing our series. Speaking of controversy, we are continuing our series on queer Muslims this month, and we are following along on social media very, very carefully as our marketing rolls out, as it does. And I think we've probably, and I feel very proud about this, had set a record for the most unfollows in a 48-hour period of time before they even heard our episode. Our episode hadn't even dropped yet. So nobody actually listened to it. 1,700.
More than 1,700
people. We are dropping like flies, and we've never been happy. Like, we can only laugh at it because, if we run away from things that we actually don't even know what we're running away from, like my daughter loves to say all the time, SMH, or shaking my damn heads, as she loves to say. Our work here at Momming While Muslim is to provide a safer world for all of our kids. And to that end, we're going to introduce our next guest. Her name is Erum Rani. She, I love her name because that's my mama's Muslim name. She is the founder of the Iftikhar Community activist. She is based out of Houston, Texas, and she is here to share her story about coming out as a Muslim kid and what we as parents can do better for our collective queer kids. Again, whatever your kid's identity or choices, the reality of the situation is all these kids are our kids, and we have to watch out for all of them. And to that extent, we're here to welcome Erum. Erum, thank you so much for joining us here today. She is joining us by phone because she is doing multiple things as well. So we appreciate her putting this time and effort in.
Assalamu alaikum, Erum. Oh, I think it helps if I unmute her. Oh, you have to unmute yourself, I think. Let's see if we can do that. Assalamu alaikum. Sorry about that.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Yes, I am sorry. Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to do so many things at once. Everything just collapsed at once. I'm sorry for the scheduling. But yes, thank you so much. Yes. So let's talk about the queer Muslim community that parents are afraid of talking about. As myself, growing up in the community was very, very hard. What I do is trying to make a safe space for our queer children. They're the most vulnerable. They're the ones who are really wanting to get more information, but we're always misled because of religion. Religion is the problem, and the culture is the problem of why our kids are so afraid to talk about this topic, is because our parents, our ancestors, they always told us that it is bad and it's haram. Okay, I understand that, but at times, yes, kids have to understand certain things, and growing up was hard, and being a queer person and trying to love your faith was the hardest thing to ever battle by yourself. And going to a masjid that you don't feel like you are comfortable and you are eyed a lot because they know you are who you are, and you've been eyed a lot. You've been, judged so much by, all these aunties or you and all these other people. So I understand the pain of these kids, but at the fact that here we have our parents are the ones who need to love us. Allah has always told us, is always said to love your children and, love your parents. But our parents don't understand that they're words that do hurt us. And it's not about sensitivity. It is about how your tone is. And I want those mothers to understand is that, no, it is not wrong to be different. It is okay. Your child wants to confide in you because of how their sexuality is. You need to let them, you really, really need to let them hear about them. You need to hear about it. You need to let them talk about it because that's the healthiest thing to ever do for your child. if your child is really having trouble, they can always contact Iftikhar Community. We can always do some, we'll find a therapist for you and your family. We'll try to do any other, resources that we can also give to you. But the reason I think for the queer children, it's very important that the mothers, especially the mothers are the ones who gave birth to us, alhamdulillah. And we're the women are the most powerful ones in Islam. And we forget about that. And our mothers are everything to us. And if our mothers are everything to us, they should at least try to understand their children, because that is their backbone. The mother is their backbone, and no matter what. And I want my viewers to know, and I want the viewers to know on this podcast and the mothers to know that do not ever neglect your child because they are different. Let them be who they are. If your child is, a boy and he wants to wear a dress or do some makeup, it's fine. That is okay. Nobody really cares. Yes, they'll be bullied, but they have to learn by themselves too, in order for them to survive. And then I know it's going to be scary for the parents and the mothers, but I guarantee you later on, they will love you no matter what. They will love you at the end. And I want the mothers to know that you keep a good relationship with your children. And being queer is very hard, and I know how hard it is. And I want to try to make it easy for the kids, and I wanted to make it, comfortable for the kids. I want them to come to a community, to a center where they can still pray namaz and pray whenever they want to, and without being judged by so many people around our community. And my whole goal is to make a queer community a safe community from all of the ignorant people who do not understand what queer is and what is LGBT.
Perfect. So there's a lot that you just mentioned. I think we want to go back, rewind a little bit just to unpack some of it, because there's a lot of information, some of which a lot of people have not heard before. They have heard multiple times on this podcast to keep lines of communication open with your kids at all times. And, not everybody agrees with Zeba and me and being as open as we are with our children. That's okay. It's a learned skill, but, we're all learning together. I do want to backtrack to what you said early on out of the gate about religion being the problem. Is that something that you truly believe? Because I thought in our conversations before, offline, that it was the culture that you thought was more problematic.
It was a little, the reason why I say religion is not from my perspective. It is because from what the other people are looking from, they think about critics. It. That is why I said religion. I would say from being a Pakistani, and I would say it is from the cultural aspect. Most of the culture is very, complex, and it's very, misreading, and it's really harsh. But yes, most of it is the culture, because the culture does tell us, you can't be, if you're like this, then you're going to be treated differently. They're going to look at you differently. They're going to reject you as a person, this and that. I used to hear stuff like that from my mom, to be honest. So it's talking about this is a little a little sensitive, but it's okay, because my mom, yes, I love my mother to death. There's no doubt about it, everyone. But, she did say some stuff that was not meaning very, nice. It was hurtful, but I have also come to the terms of the fact that, yes, I have lost friends too, because I was who I was. And I will tell the kids too, you're going to lose friends. You're going to make new ones, but you will find a good person who is going to accept you for who you are. And there are a lot of different stories, but I can't really say everything about that. But I would have to say is that it is the culture that we've been with, we're born with, I guess, and we're taught. So it's going to teach us a little hate that we don't like. So it is most of the culture.
Yeah, it's culture, right?
Well, Erum, I actually definitely appreciate it. And, from your mom's perspective, I don't know where your mom was coming from or how she is or, what cultural baggage she had and she's carrying forward, right? So I want to acknowledge that she's not here to defend herself, but I also want to just I hear you and I see you, but as a mother, as somebody who I consider to be extremely open-minded. I'm not one of these people that feel like anybody should be, penalized for their belief systems and this and that. And honestly, like you're saying, you're a queer Muslim and you want a safe space to pray. I love that you're providing a safe space for people to pray, but as a mother too, who is as open-minded, I can't tell you how I would respond if one of my children came to me and said, oh, they were queer, or they were coming out. Not that I'm going to not love them or not, try to protect them or not support them, but it's more from a parent perspective, the vision or the dream that you have for your child is not necessarily the dream that is going to come to reality. Right. And so as a mom, you feel a little bit like, oh, shoot, that part is over. And that is inevitably going to be painful. And it's inevitably going to be hard. So I love that I'm hearing your side of it, because as a mom, I would like to know, okay, so let's say your kid comes to you with this. How do you don't want to, your initial instinct is probably to react, and probably not to react as well as you probably should. And I'm just being extremely honest about that. But because we are the protectors of our children, and you don't want them to run away, you don't want them you don't want them to feel abandoned. What is some of the things, or perhaps you can share what you want to share about your coming out story and how you wish your mother would have responded, because it doesn't sound as if she responded the way you would have hoped her to have responded. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It really does. So I will have to say, yes, mothers have a different instinct and a different way of showing emotions toward their children. I understand that for sure. My mom didn't have the best response because I had actually came out to my aunt first. So I told her, and I said, you can tell Mom, I'm not saying anything, like I don't want to get yelled at or anything. She was the only backbone. With my aunt was my backbone for everything. She was the biggest supporter of my life and always will. So she was always there for me. So she was always there to talk to my mom about anything if I had trouble. So that was a good thing. But my mom wasn't too happy. She was very upset. She didn't talk to me for a little while. My dad, on the other hand, he was like, oh, I already knew. I'm like, okay, well, how am I supposed to respond to that? My dad gave me a total different response from my mother. So, he talked to her. So it was okay. But, we don't talk about it anymore. But she knows about my sexuality now. And I am going to say this on air. I can't believe I'm going to say this. But I was married, yes, in the past. I got divorced. I did that for my parents' sake, just to get off my back, I guess. And it worked for a little while, but I couldn't live alive. I was scared. I just didn't like living a lie. And I knew between me and Allah that I was living a lie, and I cannot live a lie under for any circumstances at all. And when my mom knew, she was just like, okay, now she's very accepting of it, because she's seen the relationships I've been in, and she's seen what happened. And she's like, what, this is you. This is who you are. I cannot change you. But she's a loving person. She loves me as who I am. And I'm grateful for that. But, we have our ups and downs, but mothers, I will have to say that just give your child a chance. That's all I'm saying. Yes, you can have a reaction, but don't have a reaction to it's scared. They'll freak out or jump or something. It'll trigger them and be okay. I get that mothers have their reactions. That's okay. Have your reaction and then go back to your child and talk about it. That's okay. However you guys take care of it. But, I feel like every person has its own story and a different story of coming out. And I will tell the kids, and I will tell the mothers too, you will not stop coming out. I will tell you that you are always going to keep saying it, no matter what, because it's a never ending cycle. And once you've said it, you're going to keep saying it, because you have to reassure the other person knows, because they're going to be like, oh yeah, I forgot, or this and that. And that's not what a response you need. So for the mothers, just love your child. That's all.
Yeah. And, whatever that looks like in your relationship with your kid is fine, as long as,
Yes.
the thing is, you don't have to agree with your kid, you know, like we don't. So many times we disagree. I mean, like my kids this week, they don't want to do their work for school. And I'm like, okay. Or they don't want to do the work that I think they should be doing. I don't have to agree with them, but I have to respect them as individual beings who are able to make their own decisions. And, you know, what we talked about last week with our guest was just don't freak out. You're freaking out. We get it. If your kid comes out, you're gonna go in the closet, go with your husband, go with your girlfriends, go do it there. Or come to us and freak out with us, but don't freak out in front of your kid who needs you to be the pillar of strength and not reject them, because the whole world is ready to reject them right now. And they need us. And we're not saying accept their lifestyle, accept their choices. We're saying accept the being that Allah gave you. That was not a mistake. Like, you are the perfect mom for this kid. That is the perfect kid for you as a mother. Please don't turn that kid away and say, get away from me. I have a suspicion that maybe your mom was hurt because she wasn't the first person to hear it, you know? And I would too. I would be really upset. Like, oh, what did I do wrong that my kid didn't trust me, you know? So,
and that's where we don't want the relationship to happen. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't want that, but you know, it did end up like that.
Yeah.
Am I proud of it? No, but I was young. I was scared. I was like, I knew since I was like very young, like I can't even tell how young I was. I was very young. I already knew I was different from everyone. There's no doubt about it. I already knew I was attracted to women. There was no doubt about that. But I did date guys. It didn't work. It was just not like something I would want. I was, you know, it was just not my thing. And it's okay. You know, you can be gender fluid. You can be bisexual, transgender, and everything. That is okay. I want the kids to know who want to transition. It is okay. I understand it is very hard. I deal with a lot of transgender people too. Once in a while, and it is hard for them to come out, and it is hard for them to be them, because they, as much as they want their moms to like accept them and just be there for their support. That is all they're asking. They don't want anything else, you know? And I want the moms to know that if you have a transgender child, love them too. They're the ones with the biggest heart. They will love you no matter what. If you just love them for who they are, and, you know, you don't have to support that, you know, agree with their lifestyle. It's okay. But love them as a human. That is all I'm saying. Because at the end of the day, Allah has given us life. Alhamdulillah. You know, give us so much we get to do. We do wrong things. We do bad things. But, you know, I tell this to my community too. At the end of the day, Allah is the one who's going to judge you on what you're going to be doing. I cannot tell you what to do. I cannot tell you when to come out. I cannot tell you how to do it. I can just advise you, and you have to make that choice. That is it. Because I learned the hard way. I learned so hard that it wasn't the best thing. And that's why I created this community, to make sure that, you know, I have been through what you've been through. I've been through the pain, the mental exhaustion, the, you know, the breakdowns, everything. It's just not the biggest, it's not the right thing to do. And especially the mothers, if you see your child, like, you know, later on, if you neglect them for who they are, some of them are going to just like rebel, and they're going to run away, and they're not going to, you know, come back to you. I've had stories like that too. They just left their parents because they weren't accepting of them. And it's sad to see that, because it breaks my heart that I have to read such emails and stories like this on the daily, that how many of these children are rejected by their families. And it's sad. So I know that for sure.
So Erum, I don't mean to interrupt you, because I definitely appreciate everything that you're saying, but this actually brings up a really interesting question, because one of the things, I try not to read all of the comments that we're doing. Like Uzma kind of does that for me, because I'm like, don't engage. But you're bringing this up, right? Because you are in the know. You are the one that these people are coming to you and coming to your institute to reach out for help. And one of the things that I've been seeing consistently for the 5 seconds that I quickly ran through all of the crazy emails and stuff, I'm just not going to do this anymore, was, oh, if you guys talk about it, you're going to make it happen, right? As if saying there are
Candyman, like when you go in the bathroom and you say Candyman, he's going to come out.
is going to create. So me talking to my children about this topic is going to make them gay or not gay or whatever the case may be, or gay. Like I always tell this story. I was a kindergarten room mom, and I would go into the room once a week with my oldest son, and that kid, there was one little boy, love him to death, and I knew at age 5 he was gay. And now, of course, fast forward, he is a senior, and of course he's out and whatever. I knew then, whether we had a conversation, whether we didn't have a conversation, none of that was going to change the fact that that's who he was. And you mentioned you were married, and I appreciate, and I hope that we put you in a safe space where you felt like you could share that. So I definitely appreciate you sharing that. And again, it hurts. You living this lie hurts two people. The person you married, right? Because you could not be your authentic self with that person. So he couldn't get the full of you, and you hurt yourself in the meantime, but you tried it anyway. And you couldn't.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
couldn't do
no matter what.
It wasn't an easy choice for you.
Too. Yeah,
and it wasn't an easy choice for you.
I had to, it's not the easiest choice to make, but I had to for myself and for the sake of myself and my mental health. I had to do that for myself. And I prayed in my ways, and I prayed to Allah. I was like, I know that I've been for Umrah and I've been to Hajj, but every time I tell you, I'm sorry. This is who I am. This is who I cannot change who I am at all. This is what I'm going to be. And it's up to Allah to decide if he wants to take my life away. And if he doesn't, that is up to Allah to decide what he wants to do with my life. So I just leave it to Allah, my life. I don't say whatever I do is what I do. I choose, if I want to pray, I'm going to pray. I pray, I do what I have to do as a devoted Muslim as I am. In my heart, my family knows I'm a very good Muslim in my heart, and it doesn't matter about my sexuality to them. They're like, okay, as long as you're a good Muslim, that's all that matters to them. That is all they're happy about. They're like, as long as you understand Islam, we are happy. And I'm happy that they tell me that, because that is who I am. And honestly, it's going to be very hard, and the whole mental, and it's not the easiest thing. It's a huge roller coaster. And, I have to say, yes, it is a very common thing for, lesbians or the queer community to marry each other, as we call it, as a marriage of convenience. We do that is because for our families, we don't want to come out, or we just are too scared to come out. But there are going to be single mothers out there, and they're curious about their sexuality after marriage. There are some, and I understand that. There are moms out there too, and hey, I'm here. Talk to me. It doesn't matter. I want to create a group for single moms too, who want to talk about situations like this, and it's okay, But I understand it's hard for them to explain to their children, and that's the different step that is the hardest, is to tell your child. Coming out to your child is a different thing too.
Yeah. I'm not to beat a dead horse, but did you get married before or after you came out with your parents?
So I did come out before I got married, but it was just the hardest acceptance to make them understand. So it was like they always thought that, no, she'll change after, marriage after marriage after marriage. So I knew this guy for a very long time about it. He knew about me. I knew about him. I'm like, okay, sure, why not? We know each other's families. Like, shoot, there was no issue for it. Like, we're like, okay, we're done deal. Why not? So a couple months later, we got married. And then we're like, okay, it was like just basically living with a roommate, like a best friend. So it wasn't such a big deal for us, but it was fun for a while. At that time, I was trying to figure myself out. I was out of the house. I get to do what I need to do. I don't have any distractions, nothing, for the first time in my life. So I think it's during that time I started dating too. And, we talked about that off topic. So, I dated for a while, and then, I decided I just couldn't date either. So got the divorce too. And I just, left the relationship. I had to be by myself in order for me to do what I wanted to do. I just wanted to find myself, and it's okay. You guys, can take your time to finding yourself, but you have to take care of yourself all the time. That's all I have to say. Yeah. Take care of yourself. Make sure your mental health is good. It is okay to go for therapy. It is not wrong to go for therapy. Therapy is very helpful. Yes, it's expensive, but hey, it's fine. You get your stuff out of your system and you get the answers that you need. So, we have that resources too.
Yeah. You mentioned a little bit earlier about some terms. So, there's a lot of terms that heteronormative people, yes, much less heteronormative Muslim people, don't understand. So maybe if you don't mind explaining, what is the appropriate way to identify your community? Is it LGBTQIA? Is it queer? What's the difference? Transgender, intersex, those terms, if you could talk about those.
So we will talk about that right now. So when it comes to the LGBTQI spectrum, that is for the whole hetero, part of it. But for us, we say queer people, queer. So it's basically the umbrella of gay, lesbians, transgendered, non-binary people. Non-binary people are the ones who don't really identify as a gender. You have your gender fluid people. They're the ones who go they're more of they just go wherever, however they feel. Sometimes they want to be like a girl. Sometimes they want to be it just depends. So there's so many aspects and different spectrums. And then also you have pronouns. So you'll have a pronoun, for example, for me, my pronouns are she and they. So it's basically half of, a non-binary. It's basically like a non-binary too. So it's in that spectrum. But there are other spectrums too. So it just depends on what your child wants to be called. So if you have a trans child and he is going to be a she, or she is going to be a he, make sure you call them by their name.
By their preferred pronoun. Yeah.
Yes. You go for a pronoun, or you go for, you're saying for that example, their name is, his name is going to be Salman, but he's trying to transgender to a girl and she wants to be named Alia. You go by that name at all times. It doesn't matter what they look like from the outside because they're going to take time to transition, but always go by their names as long as all the time. Talk about transgender people. I will be honest, I'm still educating myself till this day because, I'm still trying to get myself into the transgender community a little more. But, they just, as the many transgendered people I have talked to, they only want you to call them by their name, by she and her, and that's it. That is the pronoun, she and her. So just to make sure of that, and then if it's a trans boy, trans girl or trans boy, sorry, they're going to want to be like he and him. So it's going to be like that. So it's just you have to be, it's a little sensitive because sometimes they're going to be sensitive about it, but then at the same time, it's it's going to take you time. And it's okay. That's why we have the internet, research, everything. I try to give the resources as much as I can. I can always give resources out. That's not an issue. But I really want, the moms to really, to remember about pronouns. That's very, very important for the child because they're going to say things. They're going to be like, oh, she and they. No, mom, I want you to identify as they and them. And that is non-binary, just to let you know, that's what they're going to say. If they say, mom, I am they and them. Okay, what is they and them? Non-binary. So that's what they're going to do. There's just, you can say their name. They're just not gender.
Right.
There's such a power in the name, right? Regardless of what it is. And it's so funny because I was talking to another friend today on a separate topic and we were like, remember when we were kids and we had this huge philosophical discussion about our names and how it impacts who we are. And so you're right. Saying the name is power. And especially if you have chosen the name for yourself, it's definitely a different thing. And by the way, we've had this conversation. And I am not queer. after having this conversation. And having frank conversations doesn't change who you are, but it does allow us to have these conversations so that somebody else feels safe to do that. But, you know, you talked about your faith journey a little bit, how you felt that the culture, which I don't disagree with, is one that's not necessarily conducive or as welcoming to this particular demographic of people. What is your personal, or what has been your personal faith journey? Because like you said, you went to Umrah, you went to Hajj, so you consider yourself a pretty quote unquote observant Muslim person that happens to be gay. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh man, that's a struggle. That was a very big struggle for me. You know, alhamdulillah, I've gotten the chance to go for Umrah, and I've been to Hajj. Alhamdulillah, that's the greatest gift I could ever get from my parents. And, you know, I had the advantage. That was the biggest struggle, was Islam and me coming out. And I was very young. I was like probably, like 16, 17, you know, like in high school. I was very confused still at that age, but even though I knew, but it was just still confusing at that time, because I was trying to balance Islam and my, you know, like that's it. And no one ever told me why. And still till this day, you know, there are some people who are not going to tell me why. I'm like, whatever, but I had to learn, and I learned myself. But it was the biggest struggle, I would have to say. Going through that was emotionally draining. But I had a very good friend who was like a mentor to me, and she made me understand so much that I was very grateful to have her in my life. And if I never had her in my life, I don't know where I would be today, to be honest with you. It's very important, if, you know, for the queer kids, you know, if they need a mentor, they need someone to talk to, they should always have someone. They should never feel alone, period. So that is like another thing to say. But my experience, I would have to say, it's just a big, huge roller coaster. And it's never going to end. And you're going to go ups and downs. You're going to be happy. You're going to be upset. It's okay. It's a normal thing we go through. But when it comes to religion, it's something that you will have to read by yourself for you to understand it. And if you need someone, you know, I'm there because I want, you know, I can sit and help with people, like understand it. And we'll try to find someone else who will be there to translate it from, you know, Arabic to English in a better way that we need to be understood. So, you know, it's going to be hard, but, you know, it's the hardest thing I can tell you was that, you know, it's just a roller coaster. I can't say anything else about it.
So like the spiritual journey you're saying is also a roller coaster, because it kind of ebbs and flows, like how close you feel to Allah or not. Because I got to be honest, before, you know, a couple of decades ago, I would say even a decade ago, for me, it was like people who are queer Muslim, they renounce religion. But then I met a bunch of queer Muslims that are devout Muslims. And I was like, oh, wait, you still want to be Muslim? And they were like, yeah, we don't have a problem with the religion. We just, you know, this is how we felt we needed to, you know, be in the world. This is how we wanted to exhibit ourselves and identify ourselves and live our lives. But our commitment to Allah, our commitment to Islam is as strong, probably stronger in the case of some Muslims. So is that what you're saying? Is your spiritual relationship with Allah kind of ebbs and flows? And if yes, why do you think that is?
I would say yes. The reason is that there are in the Quran that, you know, we all might not understand, but we're always going to have that feeling of having our mixed feelings. The reason is that we were in our heart and in the way we're brought. We were always drilled by the cultural aspect of it, that we were so, you know, consumed by it that we were going to still have it in our mind. Mm-hmm. And for us to really doubt it is that's why I say it's going to be up and down roller coaster, as if, you know, for spirituality rise, because in a way, because you're going to think, is Allah still going to love me as who I am? Is Allah going to still be this? Is Allah going to still accept me? This and that, you know, so I'm saying, that's why I'm saying it's going to be an up and down thing when it comes to spirituality, no matter what. because we're all going to go through it, because we're all not the perfect Muslims in this world. Okay. So
whether you're gay or straight, whether you're queer or straight. Yeah, exactly.
Whichever. Yes.
Yeah.
So I can't just tell you the right answer.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a right answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
We just want to hear your experience. Yeah. And I just think it's so tragic that it's the culture that colors a Muslim kid's understanding of religion. And that's why on this podcast, especially, we're always talking about how in America we get to filter out the culture because we have our own culture over here, right? And we know that that is Western culture, but we are practicing Islam, which is a global, universal religion. And so we get to practice the actual unfiltered, unadulterated, unacculturated version of it here, especially those of us who were born and raised in this country, where we don't know a lot of that cultural baggage. We heard it, you know, but we didn't necessarily have all of that drilling that happens. And so what, if you look on our socials, you'll see a lot of the most righteous indignation about queerness is coming from people who live in homogenous societies that are homogenous Muslim. And so their experience is that that is wrong because everybody around them looks, believes, acts like them. And if they're different, they have to do it underground. Whereas in America, everything is open. We are not a homogenous society over here. And thank goodness, because then we get to learn and experience other things and know that there are other truths out there. This is mine. This is what Allah taught me. And this is what I'm going to practice. But I'm not going to ignore what's going around me, especially when those people, I feel like, are being oppressed, you know, because in Islam, anybody who's being oppressed deserves our help. And, you know, here we feel like if our queer kids are being bullied, are being beaten, are being rejected, are being thrown out of their house, they are now an oppressed and vulnerable population. And as moms, we're going to hold space for them and we're going to try to find a safe space for them. So given that, not being a mom, you decided to create an Iftikhar community for queer Muslim youth. So tell us a little bit about some of the services that Iftikhar community offers and where queer Muslim kids can find them.
All righty. That's a good question. So right now we have, I am still trying to get the little services for us. Right now I'm doing donations at the time. That's going to be onto the link onto Instagram. You can go find me on Instagram on, it's Iftikhar Community, and also on Facebook. And if you need to email me, Iftikhar Community of Texas at gmail.com. You guys can email me. Right now we have resources. So the resources that I have, you know, I work with different communities and different organizations. I've gotten their numbers and their resources. So all I do is just give out resources to whoever they are. I also give out resources to people who are not just in Houston and not just in the U.S. Also, if you're in India, or if you're in Pakistan, you're in, Afghanistan, for example, that's another big project I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to also do another stuff with, Pakistan right now. So that's another big thing within my heart is helping Pakistanis especially. So right now, that's what I'm trying to do is help, the organizations there. Right now, the biggest thing is the trans community. So they've so far, and I'm happy with that. And, I'm helping with them. We're trying to see something how we can make it exclusive for, the others, like, the queer community, so we can make it a natural, like not natural, but we're trying to make it into a topic that needs to be talked about, and we need to educate. So that's what we're trying to do from here, and I'm trying to do over there. But whoever someone is, if you're in London also, I have resources up there. So it just depends where y'all are at.
That's awesome. And we will have is it a website link or just the Instagram link for Iftikhar Community that we can put in our show notes?
It's just, you just type it in to the search button, it'll come up. then just, if you do have any questions or anything, I think just email will be better too. Okay. So, whoever needs any questions or anything, they can email me. I'm happy to email, but it'll take me time because I'm also running another business and doing this.
You're super busy. Yeah. And for those who won't read the show, we know that a lot of our audience members actually don't get a chance to read the show notes. So it's Iftikhar Community of Texas, all one word, @gmail.com if you need to reach Erum. So that is, we know that is literally just the surface of what we need to know about helping queer kids. But in an attempt to kind of get to know you better, we have like a fun little rapid fire that we close up with. Zeba had to take a doctor's call, so she usually runs this, but I'm going to do it in her stead. And so the way it works is I'm just going to start a timer for a minute and ask you some fun questions. And the first thing that pops in your head, that is your right answer. Okay, don't think about it too hard. It's not complicated. It's not like anything that was on our show notes, so you don't even have to worry about it. It's actually, I think you'll enjoy it. It's supposed to be fun. So hopefully you will find it to be so. So what was your first job?
My first job was working at Academy.
Oh, I miss Academy, man. They don't have it out here. What is your hidden talent?
My hidden talent? Oh, man. Longboarding and skateboarding.
Ooh, that sounds like fun and painful too. Okay.
And also number 3, and also golf. I was varsity golf for 4 years.
Varsity golf. Okay. I didn't even know that was a thing. That's awesome. If you had to eat one thing for every meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Pizza.
Really?
Oh yeah, I love pizza.
That's so funny. Okay. I don't know. For me, it'd be cheeseburgers. If you could spend a day in someone else's shoes, who would they be and why?
Oh my God. That's a good question. I would have to say Kamala Harris.
Oh, how come?
I respect her as a woman, and a South Asian / Black woman,
yes.
in office, but she has an energy that is really pumping. She's outgoing. She's really chill. And she's always busy. So I'm always so curious. I'm like, what is she talking about? What is she saying? How does she negotiate on so many things? So it's she's so powerful woman. It's now for us, it's and me, it's a huge thing.
Yeah.
I love it. And my second one before Kamala Harris would have been Princess Diana.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was going to say that. That was me too. That would be the closest thing to a role model I had when I was 5. I remember it was Princess Diana.
That was so devastating.
I know. I cried. I have every single newspaper that came out around the time of her death. And I have the entire funeral video recorded. It's very macabre.
My mom does too.
Oh my God. I cried bucket loads. So Zeba, we did the rapid fire and
I'm really sorry, guys.
No problem.
It was
totally understand.
My doctor's calling with the results and my heart's beating whenever you see that number on the screen. And she was like, I'm just calling to let you know, don't have them. Thank you for making me stressed out, but I appreciate the follow-up. But so I will have to listen in and tune in to hear what your rapid fire is.
She did really well. She was boom.
Yay. I love that.
Pizza.
I love that.
Yes.
I love it.
Gotta have that pizza.
Absolutely. Well, Erum, thank you so much for sharing everything that you did. We know a lot of it wasn't easy, and we appreciate your patience in our ignorance. And, being willing to educate us. We know that that's a huge burden that your community carries. And, we're just appreciative of you sharing your point of view, because to be really honest, even when we've had queer friends, we've never asked our queer friends these questions because we haven't felt, isn't that sad that they didn't feel safe enough to tell us and we didn't feel safe enough to ask?
It is.
Yeah.
Because they're going to automatically think, they're like, oh, you're South Asian, you're going to judge. Of course they're going to do that. That's what most of them do already.
Yeah.
So it's, what can you do?
Yeah. Well, we can have more of these
them for
conversations.
different things. Well, we can judge them for different things, like maybe fashion choices or what they're doing, or in Uzma, in my case, why are you not sleeping at night? It drives me nuts that she doesn't. So we can judge for other things, but this is not going to be one of them.
Yeah. And I think the things like we can do is just have conversations, and people are very scared of just talking about it. And we're going to reiterate, talking about it is, we've created a boogeyman out of something that is not new, something that is not owned by the West. Nobody has a monopoly over queerness. It's been, it's as old as time. And I think we just have a very huge communication gap between the queer Muslim community and ourselves. And, I was guilty of it, of, not understanding it, not being willing to understand it. And I really appreciate my life experiences that have led me to today and allowed me to connect with you, my sister from H-Town. I love it. And I just look forward to more of these conversations. And if we can ever be of any service to your community, please do reach out and let us know.
Thank you so much. I've really had a good time talking to you guys.
Great. I'm glad that you felt safe to be here. Have a great rest of your weekend. And thanks so much, everybody, for listening. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
This episode of Momming While Muslim is sponsored by Guidance Residential. Join Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, president of Zaytuna College and Guidance Residential, for a live webinar on how Islamic home financing is providing a permissible path for Muslim Americans to finance their homes. Register for very limited online seats at gr.link/MWM_NCW_Hamza HAMZA_YUSUF.